Welcome to SVGTV News and Sports for Wednesday, June 25th, 2014. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. The Limited Liability Companies LLC Act was today passed in the House with unanimous support from both sides of the House. The amendment was put forward by Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Dr. Rav Gonsalves. He explained the reasoning behind the amendment, saying that the International Business Companies Amendment and the Consolidation Act and the LLC Act were both observed by the members of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, as not having adequate provisions to deal with record keeping for underlying accounting information. It was also noted, according to the Prime Minister, that while IBCs and LLCs must have registered agents which are subject to record keeping requirements under the Proceeds of Crime Act, not all transactions undertaken by these entities are conducted through their registered agents. The amendment was therefore recommended in order to receive reliable accounting information. Despite the bill being successful in its bid for passage in the House, Opposition Senator Linton Lewis stated that he was all for the development of the offshore sector. However, amending the existing LLC laws did not make sense in the absence of a thriving offshore banking sector.
Why? What is the purpose of this Companies Act? We have an International Business Companies Act. We have an International Trust Act. We have an International Insurance Act. We have an International Banks Act. What is the purpose of the LLC Act? And Mr. Speaker, is it because other countries have it and we need to have it? When we in the New Democratic Party were in office, Mr. Speaker, we never introduced any legislation unless we recognize the significance of having that legislation as compared with what obtains in the world.
The leader of the opposition, Annie Eustace, is also of the view that this country's offshore finance sector was at a virtual standstill and the potential for growth was being stifled by organizations such as the OECD.
It's about 18 years, 19, 20 years maybe, I've been battling with this sector in St. Vincent and Grenadines, the offshore finance sector. In the late 90s, the sector was seen as probably a new pillar for the economy of St. Vincent and Grenadines. We had our agriculture. Our tourism was beginning to develop. We had some industry, and we were seeking to find ways and means in those days, late 1990s, to improve economic activity in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. A lot of measures were proposed, and in the end, I see us as having succumbed to them, having realized that we were small. And what we're doing today is part of that. It's a continuation exercise that was started by the OECD many years ago to take control, to prohibit the growth of the offshore finance sector.
While members of the opposition recalled the history of the existence of offshore banks in the country and the work put in by the former New Democratic Party administration, Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves told the opposition parliamentarians that the sector itself was flawed. He explained that the laws governing the sector were written by an individual for direct benefit and by the nature of how it was set up facilitated money laundering and drug trafficking, eventually resulting in the blacklisting of the country.
Now, the Americans were concerned about that. Yes, the Americans were concerned about that. The Americans were concerned about that. And the Europeans were also concerned about that. But the Europeans realized that a lot of money was leaving Europe and go into quote-unquote offshore jurisdictions. And they articulated the position about harmful tax regimes.
Debate on the Firearms Amendment Bill has been further delayed. Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves told Parliament The bill would be put on the order paper for its next sitting scheduled for July 31st.
There's one important stakeholder who has not yet. I'd anticipated that there would have been a response, and I'm awaiting the response of that important stakeholder to the amendment.
The ruling Unity Labour Party government, with help from a number of friendly countries, continues to put things in place to protect the borders of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Government officials, members of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force, and journalists journeyed to the Grenadine island of Canouan yesterday for the opening of the Coast Guard base there. SVG-TV's Jamisha Wright was there and files this report.
The Canouan Coast Guard base was constructed through assistance from the United States government under the Secure Seas program at a cost of US $2 million. Director of Grenadines Affairs Edwin Snagg says the gift of the Coast Guard base from the U.S. government must be appreciated and cherished.
We fully well know that this base is located in what we could call the underbelly or the sore spot of our country. Very difficult for us on our own to police. We know that we have our Coast Guard with very capable and able-bodied personnel who have been doing a most excellent job over the years. But we know the difficulties and we know the challenges. And it is so important that we have this facility to facilitate the security, particularly of the southern Grenadines.
And U.S. Ambassador to Barbados and the OECS Larry Palmer says his country is extremely pleased to partner with SVG as both countries continue to take aggressive stance to keep the region safe from narcotics trafficking and other threats to the maritime borders of the region.
I'm so pleased to be able to officially present this superb Coast Guard base, an investment of some $2 million, which includes an operations center, a waterfront pier, a fuel storage and dispensing system, as well as a communications tower. The base's key location between St. Vincent and Grenada will strengthen your Coast Guard's maritime law enforcement and search and rescue capabilities as well in this remote area. I'm also pleased to say that a very large percentage of the contractor's workforce was from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, something which also aids the local economy.
Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves expressed thanks to the U.S. government, explaining that the Coast Guard base fits strategically into the Coastal Surveillance Plan of SVG. Dr. Gonsalves says the two-story building can house a total of 24 persons at any given time.
Coast Guard sub-base here is an extension of the Coast Guard's, the Central Coast Guard base in Caliacqua on St. Vincent. Hence, all operations performed by the main base also done here. We have a complement currently here of 12 persons, and they're split equally between two watches and are rotated on a weekly basis. This Coast Guard vessel SVG-09, one of the Defender class Secure Seas Safe Boat Interceptor, was donated by the U.S. government through the initiative of President Obama in 2012, is stationed at this base, this sub-base. And the sub-base is responsible for Coast Guard operations in the southern Grenadines and supports the main base operations whenever required.
And Police Commissioner Michael Charles says the facility will be used to its optimum potential to protect and serve the general public.
And to bring to justice those persons who contravene the maritime and other laws of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This base will also use to carry out joint patrols with other law enforcement agencies like Customs and Excise. It will also be used for humanitarian purposes, for example, to assist fishermen and other seafarers who may be in distress and need the urgent assistance of the Coast Guard.
Well done!
The Coast Guard sub-base was constructed by the firm Palgag Technologies Limited of Israel. Jamisha Wright reporting for SVG-TV News.
And some of the residents of Canouan used the opportunity to share with SVG-TV News how pleased they are to now have the new Coast Guard sub-base on the island.
Tell us how you feel today to have this new Coast Guard facility open here on the island.
I think it's a very important facility for Canouan. We are living in a dangerous area. We're living in an area in a time where people are using the sea to traffic drugs and all that, and we find it's very important that we protect our coastal areas from persons who will come in order to destroy what we have here. We have a very peaceful and tranquil place here, and we like to keep it that way. And we think the Coast Guard being here would be an important part of keeping it the way it ought to be, peaceful and quiet.
Personally, it's a great improvement. I was just a while telling somebody about the fact that when I now came to work in Canouan at the clinic, that I remember one particular episode where I waited all night for the Coast Guard to come from St. Vincent to Canouan to take a patient up. And now that it's right here, I think that's great improvement. It's easier access if we have to transfer somebody to St. Vincent and cannot get a flight. I think it's also increased quote-unquote security on the island, knowing that they're there patrolling the waters up and down. I think it'll help to stop some of those drug lords that I seem to think coming here in the night on some speed.
You're a nurse. You're a nurse. And with you and the doctor, the resident doctor for the area. Tell us your thoughts. Give us your thoughts on the Coast Guard.
This Coast Guard base here in Canouan is very important to us, especially during emergency, It's always a problem to us, especially transporting patients from Canouan to St. Vincent. Now with the Coast Guard base here, so we're very, very, very happy. I hope, and I think also the people in Canouan, they're also very happy and grateful to have this Canouan Coast Guard base, because it's very, very important to us.
Meanwhile, as we hear in this report from Jamisha Wright, the 4-hour journey to and back from Canouan was quite the experience on the SVG Coast Guard vessel Hyroon. The Hyroon was one of 3 Coast Guard vessels used to transport persons from mainland St. Vincent to Canouan to witness the official opening of the Coast Guard base on the island. Among those on board the vessel were Police Commissioner Michael Charles, head of the SVG Coast Guard Commander Brenton Kane, and other top-ranking officials of the RSVG Police Force, government officials, and members of the local media.
Actually, what is very, very, very rough. What we noticed that the wind was blowing from since this morning, and we have a thing in navigation called fetch. That's the distance the wind blew for a period of time, because the sea to get undulated and build up energy. So, as it stands now, the sea is very, very, very rough.
I'm sure that this experience gives most of us, myself, an idea of what Coast Guard officers have to go through on a daily basis. I mean, I'm sure. Is this what you say, just a taste, or you go through worse ones than this daily, nightly? What would you say?
The sea don't remain like rough all the time. Sometimes you have very, very calm seas, and sometimes it's very, very rough.
So today you would describe it as very, very rough, or
very
just rough?
It's very, very rough.
Okay.
And The bad thing about it with the Coast Guard operation, when it comes to nights, you can't see the waves where they're coming from. So we have to just set our line and the speed of the vessel and enjoy the fun.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
A workshop to launch the SVG National Health Account Study will take place tomorrow at French's House. The event will be hosted by the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment in collaboration with the United States Agency for International Development. The study is designed to measure health spending, including spending on HIV/AIDS in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The participants will be drawn from key government agencies, including the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, insurance companies, among others. The workshop, which also seeks to outline future expected results and their implications for ongoing and upcoming health financing initiatives in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, will be facilitated by technical staff from the University of the West Indies Center for Health Economics and also from ABT Associates. The opening ceremony will hear brief remarks from Permanent Secretary Louis Deschamps, Deputy Health Planner Tamara Bob, Coordinator of the Health Economics Unit, UWI, Professor Carl Theodore, and Research Officer Roxanne Brizan, also of the Health Economics Unit of the UWI. The 2014 college graduating class of the SVG Community College has been challenged to unlock their potential and be optimistic at all times as they seek to make their dreams a reality. Kristen John Dean has more on yesterday's graduation ceremony in this report.
I believe I can, I believe I will, I believe I know my dreams are real. I believe I stand, I believe I'll dance, I believe I will real soon, and that is what I do believe.
CARICOM Youth Ambassador Tamira Brown told the 2014 graduating class of the SVG Community College that they should use the education they received in their everyday life. Brown further encouraged the students to balance their perspectives with real optimism and reality, noting that the choices they make now have the potential to affect their lives.
It makes absolutely not an ounce of sense to pack the contents of your courses and books onto the cobwebbed reserves of your brain. Knowledge is not simply just power, but with our full potential, we must ensure that knowledge is used to expand our horizons.
She also urged them to use their knowledge to help modify theories.
Challenge the status quo and realize your dreams. Once you develop the inward hunger and thirst for education and achievement of your dreams, you awaken your soul. The search begins and you can never go back. From then on, you are inflamed with a special longing that will never again let you linger in the lowlands of mediocrity, complacency, or partial fulfillment.
Meanwhile, valedictorian Jolene Messiah acknowledged the other valedictorians from the various divisions and told the graduating class to be proud of their achievements because they have come a long way.
Proud of our accomplishments. Many of us did not realize the potential that we had within us. We were like diamonds in the rough, needing some polishing, and our lecturers provided that. They made us realize that we didn't know it all. And then by exposing us to varying schools of thoughts, they helped in opening our minds, molding and shaping us. We have come to realize that we can be anything we choose to be. And today, we are one step closer to fulfilling our dreams of being nurses, teachers, electricians, accountants, and whatever else we aspire to be.
Over 740 students graduated yesterday, an increased number compared to the previous year. Kristen John Dean reporting for SVG-TV News.
Meanwhile, the new college graduates, particularly those in teaching, have been told that such a career path should not be pursued if they are just in it for the salary. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Nicole Bonady-Baker, said a teaching career should be taken seriously and the children that they will be teaching should be priority.
Teaching is not for the faint-hearted. There are many challenges faced by our teachers in all of our educational institutions today. Some challenges even on the physical level. You will in turn have to become committed to unlocking the potential of a student whose future achievements may well be derailed because you either do not think that the particular student is worthy of your attention, perhaps because the student may be struggling in some academic areas, and you believe in your heart that you deserve to be teaching a more advanced cohort. Do not become the teacher who simply discounts the potential waiting to be unlocked of a student just because it may take you some more effort or a bit of your well-deserved rest time.
Baker said the Ministry of Education is appreciative of the hard work of the lecturers for helping to mold the minds of those who graduate from the college.
Without your mentorship, commitment, and dedication, today would not have been possible. Ladies and gentlemen, the enhanced national productivity of our country is the main rationale for the Ministry of Education and the significant investment in training for all of these students who sit before you here today at the post-secondary and in some cases tertiary level.
A book which provides a socio-historical perspective of the Dorsetshire Hill community, written by historian Dr. Edgar Adams, was launched last evening at French's House. Delivering the welcoming remarks at last evening's event, President of the Vincentian Writers and Artists Association, René Batiste, praised Dr. Adams for his work over the years, which he said spans more than a quarter of a century. Batiste said his work represents a loving effort to keep recording for generations to come the many facets and aspects of the social, cultural, and economic history of SVG, and doing so without guaranteed funding.
I continue to be amazed by Doc Adams, in the autumn of his years, to be such a prolific writer and researcher, while I somewhat impatiently wait for the more qualified and newer academics to be as productive as he's proven to be. Our history and folklore unfolds every day, and it has been doing so from time immemorial. However, were it not for persons like Doc Adams, there are some, but he, in my estimation, is the most, he has published the most on the history of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and particularly its folklore. Were it not for him, his persistence, his enthusiasm, and his endurance, much of what some of us know today would have been almost lost in the dust of time.
But he said it is her hope that sometime soon a young filmmaker will find the book, The Making of the Dorsetshire Hill Community, the foundation of a script worthy of making a documentary film. 6 readers' comments on the book were presented last evening, one of which came from another author and poet, Cecil Blazer Williams, presented by Elsa Velox.
Edgar Adams has once more helped to demystify the past, to throw new light and to stimulate new thought on our history and social development as a people. He has traced the development of the Dorsetshire Hill community from a military fortification, Morris's Battery, through the patriotic and heroic struggles of the Kalinago, the resettlement of the descendants of the Cromwell poet from Barbados, and its current vibrant institutions of education, religion, sports, business, and 9 mornings. Lighter. His style is simple and fluid, but the contents add tremendously to our knowledge and understanding of ourselves.
Meanwhile, Dr. Adams told the audience that Dorsetshire Hill on its own presents a challenge to local researchers, and when the word community is attached to it, the challenge becomes even more difficult, as not enough information has been recorded of some of the most important activities which occurred in the community many years ago. Dr. Adams said the omission has created a gap in the historical records of SVG, and that the book attempts to address that situation by promoting dialogue and further research in order to fill the historical gap.
The term a socio-historical perspective has been included in the name of this study to allow special attention to be focused on certain definite areas of this research. It does not, however, attempt to give a step-by-step account of a community, nor does it include names of persons who started it or who are directing the affairs of what is usually classified as a community. As stated in the introduction of this text, the Dorsetshire Hill community was not meant to be an organization with an adopted constitution, elected officers, and a controlled membership. In reality, it was only expected to introduce an ongoing development of a working relationship between the descendants of the original residents and other individuals of mixed races and cultural backgrounds sharing a single geographical space.
Dr. Adams said the book also suggests an entirely new burial site for national hero Joseph Chatelier, which he said is likely to be one of the many topics for further discussion well into the future. A number of preschoolers earlier today celebrated World Milk Day with a special event held at the Rainbow Unique Preschool. The event was held in collaboration with Correas Hazels, the local distributors of the Dutch Lady Milk brand. The preschoolers were given the Dutch Lady Milk experience, which incorporated farm displaying 2 milking cows, sampling stand, color painting corner, and games. Ezzy Roberts of Correas Hazels said the exercise seeks to renew interest in the consumption of milk, which cannot be overemphasized in the children's daily diet. World Milk Day is an initiative of the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, and is aimed at increasing public awareness about the importance of milk and milk products as part of a well-balanced diet. Stay with us, we'll be right back with Carnival Beat. The Calypso semi-finals this Friday is promising to be a fantastic one. At the CDC's media conference yesterday, President of the Calypsonians Association, Ann Miller, says the judging in the preliminaries was a challenging one, and they are now looking forward to even better performances in the semis. Miller says there will be a mixture of veterans and young Calypsonians at Fantastic Friday.
We have for the first time Cleopatra Hendrickson entering the competition and has qualified in the semi-finals, and hoping that she would make it on to the finals. Now, for those who would have missed the tent, I can tell you that you have missed great shows, but you can get part of this action by coming to Fantastic Friday. And let me take this opportunity to thank Julian Francis for ending such a great show at the On-Tour Calypso tent while we had Patches on stage. And I know that for those who were there, speaking about it, come to Victoria Park. It's going to be a great celebration with Patches as he returned to competition, because we know that he would have been out for quite a number of years.
A new show dubbed The Real Vincy Trini Grinny Comedy and Soca Show Dung will climax activities for Vincy Mass 2014. The show is a collaborative effort of the Carnival Development Corporation and the Caribbean Prestige Foundation, the CPF. According to CPF's operations manager, Harandi Eli, the show will soon be advertised, but for now, he can say that it will feature top artists from SVG and Trinidad.
Apart from that, we are happy to bring along Mr. Iwa George from Trinidad and Tobago, will be part of the cast, and some of our top comedians led by Mr. Larry Joseph. So I would let the ads and the excitement to come speak for itself within the next coming weeks. I have no doubt that the CDC is in good hands and your culture is in good hands, especially sitting here this morning and seeing the comprehensive planning that have been done from security all the way down to the details with the beauty show pageant, your pan, your mass bands and whatnot. It is really refreshing to see the coordination and the camaraderie and chemistry that you share throughout your associations.